Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to another episode of China Update, where I provide you with the most up-to-date political, economic, and geostrategic analysis on the world's #2 economy. My name is Tony. Let's jump in. Now, today's video will be very foreign policy heavy. We have a lot to go through, but first, a quick economic update. Confidence among China-based CEOs has dipped sharply in the second half of the year, driven by mounting concerns over the nation's economic slowdown, rising local competition, and geopolitical uncertainties. According to a recent survey by the Conference Board, a US-based non-profit think tank, the CEO confidence index fell to 49, down from 56 in the first half of the year. This decline signals more negative sentiment than positive, highlighting challenges for multinational companies operating in China. More than 40% of CEOs surveyed say current business conditions in China are worse than 6 months ago, while 38% say that they are the same. The survey, conducted between September 30th and October 28th, revealed that 76% of CEOs view China's economic slowdown as their primary risk. Additionally, 41% of respondents reported worsening business conditions compared with just 6 months ago, a significant rise from 23% in the previous period. The head of the Conference Board's China Center noted that price-sensitive consumers and agile local competitors are intensifying market pressures. Geopolitical tensions are also fueling uncertainty, with 53% of CEOs predicting worsening EU-China relations and 77% anticipating further strain between China and the US, with almost 80% of CEOs saying that managing geopolitical issues is impacting costs and efficiency. Despite these challenges, long-term optimism remains. The survey found 65% of CEOs believe Chinese demand will outpace global averages and profit margins in China will stay higher than in other regions. Next up, yesterday, Wednesday, the US Defense Department published its annual China Military Power Report. This year's report underscored significant developments and challenges facing China's military, the People's Liberation Army. One prominent issue highlighted in the report is the ongoing struggle with corruption within the PLA. Investigations into corruption, particularly within the elite rocket force, led to a major shakeup, including the dissolution of the Strategic Support Force. These disruptions have the potential to hinder China's military progress toward its 2027 modernization goals. Despite these setbacks, the report argues China's nuclear arsenal is expanding rapidly. The report estimates that China has over 600 operational nuclear warheads as of mid-2024 and is on track to exceed 1,000 by 2030. The PLA is diversifying its missile capabilities too, ranging from tactical to intercontinental ballistic missiles. This growth reflects China's strategic ambition to bolster its deterrence capabilities against potential adversaries, including the United States. The report also notes China's increasing aggression toward its neighbors, particularly Taiwan and the Philippines. In 2023, tensions escalated in the South China Sea, with incidents of Chinese forces ramming and boarding Filipino vessels near Second Thomas Shoal. Taiwan has also faced intensified diplomatic, political, and military pressure, signaling China's intent to assert dominance in the region. Of course, for regular viewers, none of these will be surprising. We have followed all of these developments as they have happened. A new section in the report addressed China's influence operations, known as cognitive domain operations. The PLA's expanding capabilities, including the development of the hypersonic DF-17 missile and challenges with the H-20 stealth bomber, illustrate the complexity and ambition of China's military modernization efforts. China's strategic alliances remain robust, particularly with Russia. The report details Beijing's material support for Moscow, reinforcing Russia's narratives regarding the Ukraine conflict. Additionally, China's defense strategy includes advanced capabilities in space, cyber, and counter-space operations, alongside efforts to secure energy supplies in potential Western Pacific conflicts. Now, we will return to this relationship with Russia as it relates to the EU, but before we move off this theme of US-China, US-based The Wall Street Journal reports that the US Commerce, Defense, and Justice Departments have opened investigations into TP-Link, the most popular home router manufacturer in the United States, over concerns that they are being systematically used as backdoors for hacking and cyber espionage. An analysis from Microsoft, published in October, found that a Chinese hacking entity maintains a large network of compromised network devices, mostly comprising thousands of TP-Link routers. The network has been used by numerous Chinese actors to launch cyber attacks. These actors have gone after Western targets, including think tanks, government organizations, non-government organizations, and Defense Department suppliers. Next up, both the Hong Kong-based South China Morning Post and US-based Bloomberg are now reporting that EU leaders will not mention China by name when condemning external support for Russia in a statement that will come out of the upcoming European Council summit. The South China Morning Post writes that Beijing's relations with Moscow are a cause for concern in European capitals, and in recent weeks, anxiety has been stoked further by evidence disseminated by one EU member state that indicates a factory in Xinjiang has been making drones for Russia's military. We covered this at the time. But while directly arming Russia has been repeatedly described as a red line by EU leaders, the European Council, which represents the 27 member governments, has chosen not to open a new front with Beijing in a week that Brussels sanctioned Chinese companies over their role in the war for the first time. Bloomberg writes that one unnamed source said Ukraine had asked the EU not to put China on the same level as Iran and North Korea, but a Ukrainian official denied that, saying Kiev didn't make such a request. Meanwhile, Spain's ambassador to Beijing, speaking at a German university event on Tuesday, told the audience that tariff talks between China and the EU are unlikely to progress before US President-elect Donald Trump returns to the White House in January, expressing, quote, "I believe that no outcome is to be reached until we see Trump in office. We are all waiting to see what is going to be the implementation of all the announcements that he has made concerning tariffs," end quote. Now, while we're in Europe, recent developments in UK-China relations reflect a complex and increasingly divisive landscape, with economic pragmatism clashing against national security concerns, as Prime Minister Keir Starmer pushes for a more conciliatory stance towards China. His government's actions signal a shift away from the previously critical approach of recent years. UK-based Reuters reported on Monday that the UK government has decided to pare back its comprehensive audit of relations with China, initially touted as a thorough, years-long review of supply chains and strategic threats. This audit has been shortened and softened. Sources suggest that this change aligns with Starmer's growth agenda, focusing on bolstering economic ties with Beijing, a key trading partner. The decision underscores a pragmatic pivot towards engagement, despite China's long-standing designation by British security services as the nation's most significant long-term threat. This recalibration comes amid controversies that further complicate UK-China dynamics. The UK-based Guardian recently named Yang Tongbo, also known as Chris Yang, a businessman who cultivated connections with British high society, including Prince Andrew. Yang, accused of being a Chinese spy, was banned from entering the UK. Though Yang denies the allegations, the case has fueled concerns about Beijing's infiltration of the British establishment, sparking debates over national security vulnerabilities. Former Conservative leader Sir Ian Duncan Smith has called Yang's case, quote, "the tip of the iceberg," end quote, warning that multiple Chinese operatives may be working, quote, "in plain view," end quote. Duncan Smith has pushed for the government to adopt a more hawkish stance, pressing Home Secretary Yvette Cooper to investigate the extent of China's United Front Work Department operations in the UK. This department is known for its influence campaigns, raising alarms about the depth of Beijing's reach within British institutions. Despite these revelations, both Starmer and Cooper have defended the need to engage with China economically. Cooper emphasized the, quote, "complex arrangement," end quote, of managing robust economic cooperation while addressing security threats. This dual approach of balancing economic growth with national security has divided public opinion and Parliament, highlighting an internal struggle within UK policy circles. Further complicating matters, recent reports uncovered that a long-serving Foreign Office interpreter, Chen Shirong, allegedly operated a website linked to Chinese propaganda. His decades-long presence in government affairs adds another layer of concern over Beijing's influence networks in the UK. Next up, we have one more development to cover, but just quickly, if you're getting some value from today's episode of China Update, do not forget to hit that like button. Liking, sharing, and subscribing is a tremendous help for the channel. Approximately 45% of regular viewers are not subscribed, so if you are a regular viewer, it's a tremendous help if you just subscribe so you're on top of these episodes. It also helps with the algorithm. It's just 2 clicks of the mouse, but it's a huge help for me and the channel, which I deeply appreciate. Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee links are also in the description for those who want to help keep China Update financially sustainable. Thank you so much, everybody, for the ongoing support. And finally for today, it looks like TikTok will get another day in court. Yesterday, Wednesday, the US Supreme Court agreed to hear TikTok's challenge to a law that could ban its US operations, putting the case on an exceptionally fast track, culminating in oral arguments at a special session on the 10th of January. In setting aside 2 hours for the argument, the justices signalled that they viewed the case as presenting questions of exceptional importance. The move came only 2 days after TikTok and its Chinese parent company filed an emergency application. In another break with its usual practices, the court did not ask the government to respond to the application, instead treating it as a petition seeking review and granting it. The court did not block the law while the case moves forward, which suggests that it may issue a ruling before the 19th of January deadline set by the law. That would mean that the case may be resolved before President-elect Donald Trump is inaugurated on the 20th of January. On this development, veteran China analyst Bill Bishop observed today, quote, "Howard Lutnick and other Trump staff picks talk about reciprocity as the governing principle in trade relations. So why then does Trump favor saving TikTok when there is no Meta, Google, YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, etc. in China, and when China protects its security through censorship, approval requirements, etc.? Perhaps the Supreme Court will solve the problem for him. Either way, TikTok and its backers cannot say they never got their day in court." End quote. Okay, that is today's episode of China Update. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Have a good Thursday, and I will see you all tomorrow.